Hi everyone, it's Bethany. Welcome back to my channel. I'm really looking forward to the craft today because the birds have started chirping, the weather is warming up, which means it is time to get ready for spring and Easter. So in this video today, I'm going to be working on creating a new Easter sign for our house. I love creating new decor every year because it's just so fun to bring some new pieces into the house. For this craft, we're going to be using multiple rolls of vinyl, so I'm going to show you how we're going to change up the colors in Cricut Design Space so that we can have a really colorful design. And then we are going to be using lots of different colors to make a really pretty floral Easter egg sign. As always, if you're inspired to recreate this craft for your own space, I'll link all of the materials in the description box below the video so that you can easily find everything that's used today. All right, let's hop into Design Space. I'm going to show you the really pretty file that we're going to use, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to get really colorful and a little trick for making sure that we can line up our vinyl really, really nicely. All right, let's get started. Okay, so let's design in Cricut Design Space. So this is the file that I'm going to be using. I purchased this off of Design Bundles, and I'll be sure to link it in the description box below this video. So I'm going to be putting this on an 11.5-inch round. And so I need to come over to Shapes and just make a template for the round that I'm going to be using just to help me with sizing. So I have my circle. I'm going to come up to width and just type in 11.5. And that will give me an idea for the size that I will be working with. So I'll make that white because I will be working with a white sign. Send this to the back so I can bring this on top. So that actually was pretty perfect in terms of sizing. In fact, believe it or not, I'm not going to change anything. So that was super lucky. So I think that I will go just about there. That's perfect. And now I can hide this. I will keep it. I won't delete it because I will make sure that I double check it at the end, but I think that's going to look perfect in terms of sizing. So I will go ahead and hide that for a moment, and then if you notice, all of this file is made up of a lot of different cut files. So we can go through now and edit each and every file and color code each and every file so that we can make this very, very colorful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the layers panel, and I'm going to click on the file and I'm going to ungroup it. And ungrouping it is going to allow me to edit the individual pieces. So I'll be able to click on each individual piece and color code it to the color of vinyl that I would like to use. So for example, I'm going to come through and grab this pretty flower and vine. It looks like a tulip. And then I'm going to come over to my color panel up here. There's a little square with a little color preview, and then I can pick the color I'd like. So I will make that pink. Then I can come through and grab the next one that I would like to use and make that pink. And then I will go ahead and just choose all of my pinks before moving on to the next color. Okay, then I'll go ahead and move on to the next color, which I will do a lighter pink. So I'll go ahead and say pink, but then click advanced, and I will drag that down a little bit so it's a little bit of a lighter pink. And then I'll go through again and pick all of the ones that I want to be that lighter pink. Now you could go to Color Sync and just drag and drop the pieces that you want to be the individual colors after you have determined all of the colors that you want to use at least one time. But I kind of find it a little bit hard to notice which piece is which piece over here because they all look very similar, if that makes sense. So they're not necessarily very obvious. So I'm finding it easier to go ahead and just edit by clicking manually on each piece. But if you are a little bit better at determining and differentiating each little piece over here, then you can go ahead and use the Color Sync. And I'm actually using the original file as inspiration. So the original file had a picture of a project you could do with it, and I really liked the color combination, so I'm just using that to determine the colors because they just did a wonderful job with their color selection. Now I'll go through and I will do a yellow, and I will pick all of the pieces that I want to have yellow. Now I'm repeating with a nice powder blue, then a nice mint color. And then for the larger leaves, I'm going to end up doing more of a teal color, I believe. I think that will look really, really fun. So I'll demonstrate Color Sync for you now because I feel like the vinyl pieces are very obvious. So once you have all of your colors selected, you can go to Color Sync at the top of the Layers panel. And once you click on that, you'll see all of the colors that you've used. So it's important that you choose your colors that you're going to use at least one time so that they're all present in this screen. Then you can go ahead and drag and drop your pieces where you would like and in which color you want them to become. And it makes really quick work out of editing a design to color coordinate it. So I found it was actually easier to do it on the screen for this just because, like I said, all the pieces are very similar, so it was hard to determine over here which one was actually turned the right color. So, okay, now that we're done, what I'm going to do is I will do Happy Easter in a nice dark gray because I think that will just flow a little bit better. So I think that will be nice and pretty. I love pastels, like you know, so this is going to be very, very pretty and fun for me. Okay, so now we have all of our colors all selected. And what we need to do now is attach the like colors. So I am going to go through, and I think I'll use my layers panel for this part because it will be much easier. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to select all of the light colors. So what I mean by that is I will go through and I will pick all of the darker pinks first. I'm holding down Command on my Mac keyboard to select more than one. And once I have all of them selected, I'm going to come down and attach them together. What that means is that they are going to cut in one piece. And this is going to be pretty important for this file because this will allow us to reassemble it on our project so much easier because all of our pieces will already be in the correct place. So then I will go through with my lighter greens for the smaller leaves, again selecting all of them while holding down the Command button on my keyboard. And once I have selected all of them, I will go ahead and say attach. Again, that will make sure all of that color is attached together so that when it cuts, it's going to cut with all of the pieces exactly where they're located on the screen here. And then again, of course, I'm just clicking the back button so that it takes it right back to where it originally was. So I'm going to go through and attach all of my like colors and then we will get to cutting. And at the very end, I want to make sure that my Happy Easter is also attached so that is all in one piece. Now before I send this to cut, there's one more thing that I want to do. I want to create some visual guides that will help me line up my vinyl so that I can get everything aligned perfectly on my project once it's been cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to Color Sync and I'm going to determine how many colors are in my project. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm not going to count the Happy Easter because it will be easy enough to place at the end. So I am going to do 6 little guides for myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to Shapes and I'm going to grab a heart. And I like the heart idea because it's going to have very distinct areas that you're going to line it up. So you can choose whatever shape you'd like, but for me, a heart seems like a good idea. So I'm going to grab a heart and place it at the bottom. And then I'm going to come over and duplicate that so I have a total of 6 for each color in my project. Again, I'm not counting the Happy Easter. So I'm going to duplicate it 5 times so I have a total of 6 hearts. So the duplicate button is right over here. I'll press it 5 times. And now I have 6 hearts. So I'm going to go ahead and drag them apart. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come back over to Color Sync and I'm going to add a heart on each of my colors. So I'll give one to the pink, one to the green, one to the blue, to the pink, to the yellow, and to the other green. Again, I'm not going to do one for the Happy Easter. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is come back to my layers and I'm going to just position my heart. Let's see, do I want to put it on the side or do I want to put it at the bottom? Let's grab our guide just to see how much room we have to work with. So we still have some room down there, but I think I'm going to put it over to the side. It might help me just to visually get that lined up there. Okay, so I'm going to put my little guide off to the side. You can do it on the bottom, you can do it anywhere. It's not going to matter and you'll see why later. So mine's going to be off to the side. I'll go ahead and hide that circle again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place all of my hearts on top of one another just for a moment. And then I'm going to select all of my hearts, just my hearts, come over to align, and I'm going to center them. That way they are all stacked perfectly on top of one another. That's very important because that's going to help me line up everything, because when we go to line up the vinyl, we're actually going to line up the hearts. So you want to make sure they're perfectly lined up on top of one another. Now from here, I'm not going to touch the hearts again on the screen. I'm only going to use my layers panel because I don't want to risk moving them. So now I'm going to select my teal heart. I'm going to select my teal section that's already attached, and I'm going to weld those two together. Then I'm going to move on to my yellow, find my yellow heart, find my yellow group, and weld those all together. Then I will go to my pink, grab my pink heart, grab my pink group, and weld those together. Again with the blue and the blue, weld, green, green, weld, and pink, pink, weld. Okay, so we are all set. Now what this is going to do, you can now come over and play around here because all of the pieces have been welded together and all of the hearts are going to stay in their spot. So now what this is going to do is if I take one of these pieces apart, I can come bring that back over just by aligning the hearts, and that's how exactly we're going to do it on the actual project. So what I'm going to worry about when actually aligning my vinyl is I will just focus on placing that heart on top of the other heart. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. If not, feel free to play, pause, rewind, and you will be able to recreate this yourself. Now I will go ahead and use my maker and I will say make it. Then it's going to place each design on their appropriate colored mat, including, of course, the heart where it's supposed to be located. It's perfect. And it looks like we have multiple mats for all the multiple colors. So we have 7 mats. It's perfect. We're using adhesive vinyl, so we can go ahead and say continue. And then I'll use the premium vinyl setting to cut out all of my pieces. Okay, so I am going to just take some of my vinyl and place it right on my mat. And if you ever are confused about what color to load, just reference your Cricut Design Space and it will tell you exactly what color comes next. So loading it into my machine and pressing cut. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and weed out my design. There we go. Just helping push down any pieces that need help. There we go. Okay, that looks good. And like I said, this is a project that will waste a little bit of vinyl. So if you're not comfortable with that, then you can try to approach this project in another way. But again, I feel like it's worth it in this case to get the project to look really good at the end. So I have all of my little pieces cut and weeded and they look really, really great. I'm using a variety of different vinyls here today just because some colors came in different brands and they're all brands that I really like. So I will try and let you know which I have used in each color, but let's go ahead and get our little wood board in here. So this is the little wood round that I am using. I did get this at Hobby Lobby. The tag actually does say that it is a 12 by 12 inch round. I believe I was sizing it at 11.5 by 11.5 when I did my own measurements. I also used a white chalk paint, and this is my favorite chalk paint to use. Again, everything will be in the description box below the video, but this is what I used to put 2 coats, I think 2 coats only, onto the top only. I like to keep my edges a bare wood. I just think it offers some really fun dimension, but you can of course paint yours however you would like. So I am going to go ahead and take my first piece of vinyl and I am going to place it on top of my transfer tape just for a moment so that I can get an idea for how much transfer tape I need to trim down. Okay, so that looks good to me. And then I'm just going to reference my Cricut Design Space project just so I can see how I'm going to line everything up on my little sign. So what I will do is I think the pink is going to be the easiest to line up first because it takes the most shape of the final egg. So I'm going to start with the pink and I will take a little bit of transfer tape just like this. And I'm using a clear grid lined transfer tape. I find that when I have projects that I really need to line up very well, I like using a clear transfer tape so I can see through it. So I'm just going to place that on top of my vinyl really quickly. And I'm going to use my scraper to scrape it down. So this first pink that I'm using is a Cricut Premium Vinyl, and I'll try to let you know with each and every layer in case you want to try to find these colors. Okay, so now I'm going to remove my backer. Okay, and then I'm going to flip that over and I'm just going to line this up. What I'm going to also do is bring in a little piece of parchment paper. That way, as you can notice, this is trying to cling to the surface. So I'm going to place my design right on the parchment paper with most of my design on the parchment paper and leaving the heart off. That way I can go ahead and just move this all around without committing. So I will go ahead and line that up so that that little oval egg is centered on my sign. Okay, so I have that lined up where I would like it. I think that looks good to me. So when I'm ready to commit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the heart down. Then I'm going to take my parchment paper and just peel it away from the inside, leaving my vinyl right on the wood, just like that. And then I can take my scraper and press down and really scrape all of this down. Okay, then I can go ahead and remove my transfer tape, and I can keep scraping down if I notice that any of the vinyl is trying to come up while I peel my transfer tape off. So I'll just go nice and slow, and it looks great. So now we are ready for our next color. So now from here, we have our base down, so it doesn't matter which color comes next. I think I will go ahead and do these pretty leaves next. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to use the same transfer tape for as long as I can. Okay, there we go, scraping it down. And this is a vinyl from the Paper Studio, which is Hobby Lobby brand. And it's a nice mint color. I don't keep the boxes from my vinyls, so I'm not sure of the exact colors of everything I'm using, but giving you the brand will at least give you a starting point. And then again, I will take my parchment paper and I will place it right over my design here. Then I will take my next piece and place most of it on the parchment paper, again leaving the heart off, just like that. Okay, so now what I can do is move it all around, but again, all I'm worried about is putting that heart right on top of the other heart. So this is the only section I'm really focusing on. And because I have that parchment paper, I do not have to commit and I can take my time without worrying that that big piece of transfer tape is going to cling and stick. So I have lined up my heart. That looks great. So because the hearts are lined up, I know that the rest of my design is lined up. So I can go ahead and remove my parchment paper, just like this. And then I can use my scraper to scrape down the rest of my design. So it'll start coming together here. Okay, and then removing my transfer tape, again going slow just to make sure everything is laying down. That little piece wanted to come up, so I'll just scrape it back down. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now we can move on to our next piece. Again, choose any color that you would like because we just have to line up the heart. So I will use this next piece that is the yellow. Scrape it down on my transfer tape. This yellow is an Oracle 651 vinyl. And then I will grab my parchment paper, place all of my design but the heart on the parchment paper, letting the heart hang off. Perfect. And then lining up the heart right over here on the next heart. So we're just creating a big layer of hearts. Okay, that looks good to me. Once the heart is lined up, I don't have to worry about anything happening over here because everything is lined up if the hearts are on top of one another. Okay, pulling out that parchment paper and then scraping down. Okay, and peeling away. It looks good, and we're going to the next color. This light pink is from Cricut. This is a Cricut vinyl. I want to say this might be the color Tulip, and I only know that because I'm obsessed with it. Okay, placing my parchment paper over my design. And then letting everything go onto the parchment paper except for the heart. And then lining up the hearts. Okay, the heart's been lined up, so I'm pulling out the parchment paper and scraping down. I love how these colors are coming together. Okay, and let's get some green. Okay, this next green is an Oracle 651, so this is a little bit of a brighter teal. Lining up my hearts. Perfect. Pulling out my parchment paper after I've lined up the hearts. Oh my gosh, those colors are really looking so pretty together. And you can choose any colors that you wish. I really love this color combination. I think it's so pretty. Okay, there we go. And we have one more layer to go of the actual floral design, and then we'll do our words. But we have only used one piece of transfer tape, so that is awesome. That makes me so happy. So I'll place my last piece over, and this is Cricut. Okay, there we go. So I've lined up my final heart. Then we can peel away the parchment paper. This is definitely a project of lather, rinse, repeat, because you just repeat the same steps over and over. But that has really turned out so pretty. So now we will just add the words last. Okay, so pretty. Okay, let me find my little words. So I'm going to trim down my transfer tape and again use the exact same piece that I've used for all 7 layers. And then we will place it on our little Happy Easter right here. Okay, this will be our last piece. Okay, and this gray is a Cricut vinyl, and it will be our final piece. So we'll finally get to see how this is all coming together. Okay, so I just laid down my final piece, and it went right in the middle. It's pretty obvious where that piece goes. That's why I didn't even give it a heart, because it had a nice little outline and it was all ready. Okay, so there is the final look. So now we do not want these hearts to stay. So you'll just lightly take your weeding tool and you will just grab those hearts, lightly peel them up so that you don't peel any paint away with it. And then you have your little stack of hearts, and then everything is also all centered. So that is how it turned out. I love it. I think that's going to be really fun. I originally was wanting to do a door sign, which comes in a larger round, but those have been a little bit harder to find lately. So I did use one of these smaller rounds that I had had in my craft stash. So you can always use a bigger one if you want to put this as a really big sign on your front door, but I think this is just as cute on a smaller scale. Let me know what you think of this project and the color combination. I think it turned out really pretty, and I cannot wait to use this for this Easter season. Be sure to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, if you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next one.